Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode... Tettles, what's the episode number?
75.
75 of the Titanforge podcast! I'm Dranos, joined by Tettles and Trell. This week we have special guest, Jason XD Rothel.
Hello.
Hello. Guildmaster of my guild, Pop-Tart Corn Dog. And here with us to talk about the upcoming Mythic raid, and the expansion so far, and all that kind of stuff. So, welcome.
Glad to be here with you guys for a third time.
Are you guys changing your name?
I don't think so. Are you guys? To Mygita?
No, no, we're not.
Mygita?
No, we're not.
Dude, I can't believe you guys aren't renaming. You literally lost a bet and wouldn't rename. We would 100% rename if we had lost a bet. We would do it instantly.
Oh my god!
I almost name changed us last night.
He did almost name change us last night.
Because I was getting flamed, so I was like, I will change the name of this guild right now.
Almost name changes out of spite. Okay.
So this is going to be our last podcast for the next couple weeks. We're not going to be on next week or the week after because the Mythic raid will be out and the Race to World First will be going on. And Tells myself will be casting that one for Complexity Limit. That's, I think, the first time we've talked about it on the show because it wasn't announced last time. And of course, Trell is casting it for BDGG. So check out.
But what if the raid goes? What if the raid goes longer and we end up having to miss 3 shows?
Yeah, that might happen. We'll keep you posted on Twitter. Do you guys think this raid's gonna maybe go? I mean, so 3 shows that would be into January 2nd. That's the show we're planning to come back for. Man, that would be wild.
No, I don't expect that
this time.
I could see it being possible as well. The raid's been like the whole expansion has been tuned pretty high compared to previous expansions, I would say.
I do agree. I guess we would all show back up richer.
Yeah.
I think the big difference is instead of like spamming islands for AP, people can spam Mythic Plus and get like effective gear for progression. So like maybe you'll be able to catch up that way, and you won't seem so like ridiculously undergeared in a week.
Because you only get 203 right now, but you can get 213.
You get 210s.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, 210s. Okay. Yeah.
From,
you get 210s
from 15 spam, which 15 spam should be pretty doable for the top end people in the next week or the week after. It should start being pretty spammable.
Somebody already has Keystone Masters, so
yes, yeah. There's been a team that's already done all the dungeons at 15, which let me tell you, some of those are a lot harder than others. As I pushed for Realm First 15. I got it on Wednesday or Thursday, and man, we did it in Halls of Atonement, and that felt pretty doable, pretty eminently doable. But we also had along the way we had a 15 Spires of Ascension, and that did not feel remotely doable.
Okay. I will admit. Once you know the route for Spires of Ascension, the timer is mega free if you don't die. That's how I feel about all the dungeons. That's how I feel about all the dungeons right now. The timer on every single dungeon is so free as long as you don't wipe.
That's true.
Yeah.
Except for the other side of the field.
I haven't done the other side yet. I literally have not gotten that key yet, but they've all felt pretty good. Plaguefall, if you do the barrel section well in Plaguefall, you have 30 minutes going into the last boss, which is wild. But
you know what's funny?
It's really hard.
With Spires of Ascension, we actually Bloodlust and Spear the final angel.
Yeah, dude, that last angel is so messed up. Dude.
What the fuck is that mob?
Those debuffs are pretty intense.
Yeah, I was doing that in alt key yesterday. I an 11, and we're chain feeding to it and just running back in the middle of combat. It was not pretty.
I need Prideful for that guy. That's the real last boss.
It's nice that you can get Pridefuls on demand once you've depleted. I've used that in several weekly keys or whatever. Several keys that have gone depleto where you talk to the Nathria Inquisitor, you get yourself an extra Pride buff. Really, really helpful. Although the Prides themselves actually murder your group pretty bad as well. In 15s.
Yeah, it requires your healer to use a lot of cooldowns.
Yeah, it's tough because you want the cooldowns for whatever you want the Pride for, right? If you're trying to get Pride into Angel, then you can't really just fire off all your cooldowns there because you need them for the Angel. And it's like not that big a deal if people die to the pride either, so you just are letting people kind of bleed out and saving it all for the next stuff. I don't know.
If you go, you just you get the pride buff, you pop lust, all your DPS cooldowns, kill the angel in 20 seconds before it can stack up all the dots.
If you have 2 carrions as well, you can save up 2 spears for it, and then just
there you go.
I think that's actually probably worth because I don't know. Whenever we were running it, we speared some random 4-pack of mobs, and it's like I don't really know what to do with the spear.
Yeah, it's really tough as well. You feel kind of interested in like spearing one of those squad leader packs, but now I'm kind of of the mind those 5 packs with squad leaders in them, you just skip those. Just find your count elsewhere and just sneak past those things, because those packs are so nasty. Also,
there's a couple of good spirits there. There's like the right platform with a bunch of patrols, and you can line up all the patrols and just nuke them.
Yeah,
and you can save the second spear for for the first 2 angels in the last boss platform. You can just do those with a spear and amp them, or you can aim for the solo angel.
All right, dude. I started going left side in Spire's Ascension. I don't know if it's wrong or not, though.
There's more count on the left, right? So you can.
There's a lot of squad leaders. We were doing a lot of solo squad leaders. We were doing a lot of solo squad leader pulls, and then pulling the rest of the platform. But
I've also had some good times on various different. I played a 12 on a protection warrior called Theater Pain, and we timed the key.
Did you die?
We timed the key, but on the very first pull, I like went in and died in 2 seconds. Just swatted down.
The only thing that saves you on Vengeance Demon Hunter is cheat death, anyways.
Yeah, that's true. At one point in the dungeon, I was like, okay, my shield block is falling in 5 seconds. I'm going to die, and then 5 seconds later, I died because shield block went down. And I don't know what you're. I don't know what to say. It just happens.
Just block, man.
Yeah, you just gotta roll some parries, I guess. That spec actually feels not bad, except for if you're in a situation where you're like fighting a mob that can't be moved or kited, and you're running out of mitigation. You're just like, well, this is my time.
Or against magic damage, of course.
Well,
yeah, probably still the best defensively against physical damage, but as soon as the shield block's over, they're dead. So until that's fixed, they're just pretty bad.
The magic damage situation, there's a lot of reflectable stuff still. Reflect kind of owns the Reaping Scythe on the last boss of Theater, for instance.
True.
Very pog, so that just like chunks the boss, and you can reflect every other. And I think you might be able to do the whole Waycrest thing where you yeet around and line up a second reflect every time instead of every other. More testing will be needed, but that character is going to be doing 1 keystone per week, so it'll be slow testing for sure. How have you guys been feeling about the Great Vault system?
It certainly requires a lot of keys right now that are pretty hard, but if you want to get more than one choice, but once 14 or 15s are like pretty doable, I don't think it'll feel too bad. Doing 10 is a lot, but I guess that's just if you're like pushing keys, then you're gonna get that. But if you're just trying to get choices, then
it's really only this week where you want the like all Mythic Plus boxes open, right? Because like starting next week, we're gonna have Mythic raid options in the mix there, and you can only pick one.
Yeah, I think it's just really hard on multiple characters this week. If you have one character, it's not bad, but if you're trying to get several characters on 14s done, I think that's pretty challenging at the moment.
Yeah, I'm on the 14s. I'm on the 1 key per alt, not the 4 key life.
Yeah.
Wait, shit. Have I done 4 14s? I'm trying to remember. I think I may have only done 3.
Yes, because Tettles, you as well secured a Realm First achievement this week, right?
Yeah, we got Realm First 15 on Zul'Jin. It came in Mist of Tyranid Scythe, which is free. We actually kind of ran it down in the Mists. It's
nice.
It's so free. We ran it down. We had like 15 deaths or something.
Yeah, Mists and Halls feel like the Freehold and the Taldazar or whatever. The Maw Souls. Mist feels like Maw Souls actually to me.
Maw Souls type was so tight. What are you talking about?
Okay.
Yeah, it's like the opposite. It's short as Mob Souls, but with like a really generous
Quarter stars. Yeah.
That's a good one.
Court
just get some RNG with the count because of Court and Miss in the maze.
Oh, true. Yeah, perfect. Halls feels like Freehold. Halls feels like a big vampire Freehold.
Necrotic Wake's very interesting. I'm looking forward to some very degenerate strats with the spears and all the like buffs around in the dungeon, because you can kill a lot of stuff really quickly with that.
Yes, you can.
It is very lethal.
Yes, you can.
Certainly true, dude. I did a Necrotic Wake 16, and boy, is there some stuff in there that I don't know what the heck to do against. The like pulls of trash in the necropolis.
Oh yes.
What the fuck are those A-bombs, man? What
am I
are those
supposed
mobs?
to do? I was just like
thinking.
Either I was dying or I was kiting and my boomkin was dying, which so I picked that obviously, but still.
My favorite part is that they buffed the range on those things by 7 yards like 2 days ago in the middle of Heroic Week. They're like, no kiting. You either die or you die.
Why does the buff stack? What is the armor reduction? What is it? Armor reduction? Is the damage taken? What is it?
Physical damage taken increase debuff.
Yeah.
I think it's like 20% per stack. It's like 15 or 20. It stacks up, so you have to kite. Like you want the kite to drop the debuff, because if you leap out or roll out at the last second, then you can drop it after a few seconds. But they buff the range on it to hit you anyway, basically.
I mean, it's just it punishes melee so hard as well, because if you have a 3-range group, you can kite. But if you have like a rogue trying to do damage, they're gonna die or cheat or whatever.
Oh yeah, Mutilate's gonna just smoke them straight in the ground.
Yeah.
I feel like the only way to like beat that on a really high difficult key, you're gonna have to abuse those like the guys that throw the cleavers.
You can't even bring those into the 2 RP packs though that spawn after the boss, because you have to kill everything to spawn the. But you can bring one from earlier in the dungeon with like Shadow Meld and then Trixing one to your tank, and then they go like up, and then you hit one and it'll snap to them. So you can bring up earlier from the dungeon cleaver guy.
Yeah,
why don't you just leave it rooted like across the room?
You can't. You have to kill them to spawn the boss RP mobs though.
Oh well, okay.
What if you mind control them? Would that would that work?
Don't think that works.
Probably not, but maybe.
I don't think so. I think you have to kill every single mob that starts in that room in order to spawn the boss trash pulls. But the good news is, if you bring one of the cleaver guys from earlier in the dungeon, they hit bosses. So on Bullstring Week, I think you're going to be able to do some nice.
Why do you fucking know that?
Because the people in my group were telling me about it from beta.
Yeah, because I one-shot the first 2 bosses in Wake with a bolstered crafter.
Why do you fucking know that? Why have you guys done that?
It's very cool.
It's gonna get fixed. As soon as a big streamer does it, it's gonna get fixed.
Yeah, do you remember when the spotters
do it once on bolstering?
Spotters did that against the last boss in Siege for like a season. That was a good strat. Dude, also in Wake, there's the bug where you can just like pull and then reset the necromancers and they stop casting. They stop meleeing as well, and you can just kill them.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Resetting the necromancer turns it off.
Wild set of bugs in these dungeons.
Oh, is that why people are like multi-shot insta-feign deathing that pack?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
That cooks me so hard. You have no idea.
Welcome to season 1 of an expansion where every dungeon is broken to hell, and everything will get fixed on a random interval of season 1 to season 4 throughout the expansion.
Yeah. It's fun to make these comparisons to the BFA dungeons though, because like Plaguefall to me feels a lot like Toldagor, where you just like kill it with the cannon section or the barrel section, and it just takes your whole timer. Your whole timer is free if you can do that well. And then like Spires feels like King's Rest, just brutally overtuned all the way through. Shadow of Zul at the end, the third angel. It's
good point.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think that third angel might make Shadow of Zul look really easy.
Yeah, the third angel, like Shadow of Zul, at least only kills your tank.
Yeah,
it's true.
Right. So let's move on to talking about the other stuff going on in this expansion. I think one thing that has been pretty big on everybody's minds, particularly with the recent blue posts as well, has been gearing. So they recently made a post that gearing was actually slightly bugged and will be nerfed next week in normal and heroic raid. Right now you're getting 5 items per 20 people if you go in there this week, and they want it to be 3 items per 20 people instead, which is what it's going to be like on Mythic, and also what it will be like starting next week in normal and heroic. How have you guys felt about the number of items that are dropping?
I'm not a fan personally. It's really hard to gear up, but maybe I'll feel better about it in a few weeks.
Really, really slow compared to other expansions, and that's a little frustrating. Like, we can make it up a bit with Mythic Plus, which is also, I think, nerfed as well. Instead of 2 items at the end, it's 1+1 if you get the chest or time it. But yeah, it's rough. And then, obviously we're still on forced personal loot, so a lot of these items just, you can't trade them, and the fact that there's so few of them makes them so valuable, and a lot of times they're not even good for who gets them. It's annoying. It's frustrating. If we could just trade whatever loot we got, I wouldn't feel bad about it. But
I think you guys are just like abused dogs, like stuck to the old system of always having just like 3 bags full of loot.
I don't know, man. It's pretty possible to like clear the raid and get 1 or 0 items off of 10 bosses, which is kind of rough.
I think we're making an assessment too early is the problem.
Well, it's also getting nerfed in half next week. Like, if you'd asked me if you told me that Blizzard had made a post that said loot was bugged and they were going to change how much dropped in Heroic after I'd done it this week, I would have been like, oh, okay, yeah, it felt off. It felt like they needed to buff it a little, and they're actually nerfing it in half.
I think just wait until Mythic comes out and like you never replace your pieces of gear with new pieces of gear, and it will make a lot more sense. I think Heroic week coming off of Mythic Zeros, yes, the loot, like, you don't have much and it sucks. I think that for future tiers, like Mythic quality gear is normally equivalent to normal quality gear of the tier higher than it. So you're going to replace gear with a lot lower frequency and stuff, like moving from tier to tier. So I think it's going to be a little bit easier in that regard.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely does feel like it's mostly withdrawal, or it's a lot of withdrawal from previous expansions where you did get a lot of items. But also, I mean, we're going down to a similar level of loot per player to like Wrath of the Lich King, right? That's the last time we've had this little loot dropping. But back then we had personal loot.
It was Mop and Kata,
not
wasn't
personal
it?
loot, but Master Looter. I thought
Kata
the loot
and
went
Mop
up
both.
in Kata, because in Wrath it was 4 per 25, and now 3 per 20 is a pretty similar number to that. Right? But I could be wrong. I could be wrong about when it went up.
But yeah, I like, without corruption and Titanforging, like the odds of you actually getting like tangible upgrades week to week once you do have an equivalent item level, like the highest available item level in that slot, is like really low comparatively to corruption and Titanforging, where you could like RNG into some better pieces of gear.
I think part of what makes it feel so rough as well is that there's not really any consolation prize items. Like, you used to get like 250 AP or whatever from killing a boss, and you're just like, okay, this is nice. I was looking, like, I'm glad I did this. This was worth my time, right? But like, if you do raid and you kill 6 bosses and you get 0 items, you're actually just like, okay, this was I've incinerated my hours, right? Nothing improved my character, right? But because you get 35 anime per boss, right? So you're getting what, 180 anime for killing 6 of them.
It feels like Blizzard saw, they're like, all right, you guys don't want to play, 80 hours a day to spam islands and get AP? Fine. No gear for anyone.
Yeah, I understand where they're coming from, though. I think that maybe one thing that would be helpful is adding in like a Valor point type currency again, because I think that was a really good way that would be a really good thing to have as like a consolation prize reward just at the end of M+ or raid, something that you can just use to buy like eye level 200 pieces and do like 7 dungeons without getting items, and you can buy one, or a couple raid bosses.
Just give us a Mythic Plus conquest vendor. Fuck it.
Yeah, or like badges of whatever. Bring back a badge system so that raid bosses and Mythic Plus, eventually you can definitely get something, instead of right now, which is like, maybe in a couple of weeks I'll get a piece of loot.
What item levels are you guys all right now? Dratnus, Jason, and Trell?
197.
Yeah, 195.
Yeah, my rogue's 197.
Yeah, I'm at 198, I think.
I'm still wearing my Heart of Azeroth.
Same.
So we're all pretty high item level, at least for our guilds, probably with that.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about Mythic Plus is you can eventually gear up to like full 203 this week and full 210 in future weeks from just the keys. So
You gotta get pretty lucky though. It's pretty hard to get loot from Mythic Plus.
It takes a lot of keys to get it. Yeah. Dude, I really want to upgrade my necklace slots because as long as you have the Heart of Azeroth on, people keep asking why do you have Heart of Azeroth equipped. I'm just like,
does the threat still work?
Yeah, the threat. Nah. It's just I literally just can't get a better necklace. It is also the Great Vault opening next week is going to help out with the gearing too. That'll start to feel good, right? The guaranteed, nice reward per week. I think there will be, like, given that you can see so many options if you've been playing a main character a lot, I think that's going to increase the amount of like leech slots that people have, because that'll be a good tiebreaker for what to pick out, right? Like you get 5 shots at rolling leech. If that still has the Legion, you remember halfway through Legion they like buffed the chances of your weekly box getting getting upgraded with Titanforge. And I think it also has a higher chance of getting Leech and Avoidance. So if that carries through to the Great Vault, that'll be kind of cool. Getting some extra tertiaries.
Yeah, when we're like halfway through the season, I will probably feel, similar to where we were in other seasons. And by the end, I think we'll be better off. But for half of the season, it's going to be a slow crawl.
I think we give it some time. I think that this season, like coming off of Mythic Zeros and off of the previous expansion, it's going to feel like total shit comparatively. But I think if we give it a couple seasons, it will feel a little bit better. And long term, like Jason said, I think it's going to end up being better as a whole. But yeah, it does kind of feel rough right now.
All right, let's move on. So before we get to talking about Mythic Castle Nathria, let's do our tip of the week segment, which I realize I just quickly wrote one in. Jason, if you want to come up with one for by the time we get to you, or you can just skip, that's fine.
He had one, I think.
He had one? Okay.
I have one, yeah, I'm ready for
it. All right, nice. So we'll do
Excellent.
that. But first we'll do mine in Trials. Mine is in Torghast, just focus entirely on killing the boss. Especially in Layer 6, do not trap yourself with anything that looks good in AoE. Just pick the boss stuff. I did a Torghast run on my DK, and I got baited into this anime power that like made my chains of ice link targets together and cause them to replicate damage to each other. And I just picked that power like 3 times because I thought it would be cool, and it was. And like killing 2 targets with it was sweet. But then I got to the boss, and like all of my investment was into 2 targets, and I like wiped 3 times. Had to get people to like mail me drums and flasks and food so I could kill it.
I need backup.
Guys, I need help. Well, like I like wiped it 6% twice, and it's just like, and I was playing Blood DK as well, and it takes a long time to get a boss of 6% on Blood DK without damage powers. Just like
that's true.
But it would have been easier if I had just not picked anything that didn't function on single target.
I had a run of Torghast yesterday on my Brewmaster, where, and by the way, he's totally right. It definitely focused on the last boss. But there's a Brewmaster power that when you cast Vivify on yourself, it pulses damage around you. And I just got like 5 of those, and I killed the boss in like 5 seconds with Vivify.
Dude, my favorite with Brewmaster, if you're a Kyrian, is you can get that one where Weapons of Order makes it so when you jump, you shoot a bolt out, and so you can just position yourself like under a ledge and then spam your spacebar, and it just.
Ooh, I haven't thought about the ledge.
Yeah,
that's a good idea.
What the fuck is Cold Heart, by the way? Why is it so much harder than every single other hall? It's like not even close, I feel like.
Yeah, that place is tough.
Yeah, that one is kind of tough, huh?
Maybe it's because I'm a Moonkin, but why does every single in-floor boss have a caster with a purgeable haste buff, and it just is fucking bolting me with this haste buff into the ground? I'm like, I'm dying, dude. Like, what is this mob?
And they have fears as well, and you just don't have enough kicks, right? There's all those things with the fear cast. Yeah,
I have to constantly clone them off to let the haste buff drop, and I'm like, what the fuck is this?
So bad.
Yeah, that one was pretty tough. The fear was especially annoying.
All right, Trell, what is your tip of the week?
Yeah, mine's about Shadowlands engineering this week. The engineering perks this expansion are pretty solid, in my opinion. First of all, you only need level 1 engineering to even use the wormhole generator this time. It's a toy, so you can pick it up on one character or just buy it off the auction house and then learn it on, or just use it on your level 1 engineer characters, and you can port to any zone in Shadowlands, including Oribos and the Maw, instantly from anywhere, and it only has a 15-minute cooldown too. In addition to that, you can also level up Shadowlands Engineering to use the Stealth Belt or the Engineering Battle Res, which I think are both extremely useful. There's also a Belt Shield, just like from BFA, if you want to do that as well.
Is there?
But
I know there's like a Thorns on Belt. Is there actually a shield? I haven't been able to find that one.
There is. I haven't seen it yet, but I know some people in my guild have it.
Wait.
People are just using the BFA one.
Yeah, that's what I think. I think people are just using the BFA
shield.
Oh,
maybe I am wrong about that then. Then that's the BFA shield.
The BFA shield is still like, what is it, like 4,000 or something like that?
It's like
it's still shield, so it's really not that bad.
Reasonable.
Yeah, but either way, the stealth and the battle res are great. The stealth belt's actually really sick. Having basically an invis paw and a 2-minute CD for free is really cool in dungeons. However, my monk is like level 56 engineering, and I tried it like 5 times and it backfired 4 of those 5 times. So I think you need to level it all the way up.
I think the backfire chance does go down as you get your engineering up. So if you're watching this now, quick, go to Darkmoon Fair and get those 5 Shadowlands engineering points from 95 to 100. A lot cheaper than doing it the auction house way. Okay, Jason, what is your tip of the week?
Yeah, so if you ever had the idea to kill a prideful and then kill another prideful right after to get a stacking buff, it doesn't work. It does not stack. You should not attempt to do that.
Okay, that I've suggested this, but for a different reason. Like you because when you talk to the Nathria Inquisitor, you clear your lust debuff, right? So you can like lust the first pride, and like if you still have people die, then you can like have you have pride for the second pride, and so you can kill it without people dying, and then you pride into the boss off of that without having people dead, and you have your lust reset.
How are you gonna con a healer into doing this, man?
Okay,
I don't know.
Wait. Okay, actually though, like the pridefuls just when they reset, they just stay whatever. What if you get a prideful like super low
and then wipe,
and then wipe on purpose and save it for later?
Yeah, did you just leave some 2% prides like over where you need them? Yeah.
Sure, you could wipe on the pride at like 5%. Yeah, you all die, you run back, and there's the guy that spawns the pride right next to the pride. So you lust, kill the pride, reset the pride by spawning another one, carry the end of that lust into the boss, and then lust again. So you have like a lust and a half with pride on the boss.
Yeah.
Sound good?
Sounds good to me.
That sounds great.
Just time the key, man.
Can't do it. Nope, that's not an option. Need alternatives. All right, let's move on to Tattles' clip of the week, which comes from Trellstream, actually. We've got a 10 Theater of Pain here. Or no, 10 Necrotic Wake.
Oh, you guys are going to like this clip.
Is this a full boss room pull with the...
Speaking of the items in Necrotic Wake.
Yeah. Okay, let's see what goes on here.
So I've got an orb there.
Are you able to hold threat with this much damage, Trell?
Yes, I think so. Actually, the orb does not give you threat as a tank. Unfortunately.
The javelin.
Yeah, the spear definitely does.
Definitely does, yeah.
That's a lot of damage.
Also, I forgot there's pride, so.
Oh.
The clip gets better. Just wait, the pride starts spawning.
Oh.
That's a moment of like where you have instant regret whenever you see the pride start spawning. You're like, oh,
that's how this pull works out for me usually as well. I've heard if you jump when you click on one of these things, it'll teleport you straight to the room as well. If you jump when you click on the Valkyrie to go back up.
Really?
I need to test that. Yeah, somebody told me that yesterday. I want to try it.
Yo, what's the deal with where does pride spawn? Like, does it always spawn on the tank? Like, what's the deal with like?
It picks a random player that's alive at that moment, and it spawns on a radius around them. So if someone releases right before the pride dies, it has a chance of spawning at the very beginning of the dungeon and running to your group and reaching full stacks by the time it gets there at full health. So don't do that.
Yeah, it's actually so bad if you have a pride that like is running to you, because while it's stacking up, it's so nasty.
There was some fucking griefing in a Spires of Ascension because I told Squishy and I to release, and then we had the pride spawn all the way down at the bottom of the third boss. Yeah. And our group mates were at the top, and we're like, there's a pride here, bro.
I love Prideful. I think Prideful is a great affix. It's a lot of fun, actually. Like planning it out, using the reward from it. Fighting the mob itself is fun because it's like pretty interactive, does a lot of group damage, and you gotta dodge those boasts. Very cool.
In my opinion, at least right now, before we get into the ultra high keys, it's the best seasonal affix they've put out.
I think so too.
I think I agree.
It's fun for everyone involved. Like it gives damage buff, a healing buff, infinite mana, and movement speed. So like any like weakness or annoyance on your class is kind of solved for a minute.
Yeah. Also for tanks, it's the one mob you can fight where like you aren't dying. If you're fighting a pride by itself, it's like the only mob whose auto attacks you can survive. feels really good because most mobs in 15's Unfortified Week are just so brutal.
Yeah, prides and bosses are like a nice break.
Yeah,
bosses. Most of the time.
Oh, dude, bosses are such a beautiful relaxation moment compared to like 2 trash mobs. Those little groundskeepers in Halls of Atonement, the little they cast like smack, and it just does half my health bar. I don't know.
They're terrifying. As soon as they KO smack, I'm like, I'm out. See ya.
You think Tyrannical will be easier next week?
Yeah, I actually kind of think it will. I was looking at like Spires. Like Spires is going to be free on Tyrannical, right? Like you just have to not die to the overhead slash on the first boss, and all the bosses are so easy.
Except it's also
Did you say free on Tyrannical?
Yeah, so free. Well, it's because the trash is the hard part in that dungeon. Like every trash pull sucks, but the bosses aren't too bad.
Have you dealt with the second boss yet?
Just dodge.
Just dodge.
Yeah,
yeah, just dodge forehead.
I've never in my life been hit by one of those things. You can see where they're gonna go. You can see them spawn.
It's the bleed. The Garrote bleed is the hard
whatever.
part.
That never goes on me. That goes on ranged.
Okay.
That's the range and the healer deal with that, Tuttles. It's fine. I guess it might be like Moreau's, where it's just impossible on Tyran.
I think some bosses are going to be definitely really hard, and especially since it's supposed to be Grievous next week, I think as well.
If that ends up being true, yeah, that's going to be nasty. Especially like on Tyran, your pride's going to run out earlier, and the percent health of the boss, and you're just going to have much more to deal with without pride. So maybe I'll be singing a different tune next week.
Yeah, every boss in Sanguine Depths is going to kick everyone's ass, I think.
Yes. Dude, the first boss in Sanguine Depths has already been like the wall. I've seen so many runs break on that first boss of the dungeon. All right. Let's move on to talking about the raid situation. And first, let's talk about the nerfs and buffs to specs that we have here. So this is with the regional restart, so it's not in-game as of yet. But they've basically done the old classic of 5% nerfs and buffs to outlier specs here. Notably, threat for all tanks is going up by 10%, which is welcome. I think maybe still not quite enough, but very welcome for sure.
Another 10% buff.
Yes. Woo! Unholy is getting a 15% mastery nerf, which my understanding is that's about 5% overall damage for them, and it makes them scale a little bit less hard with secondaries, which I think is very welcome. A fair nerf there. Not too bad for Unholy. I think they're still going to be good. Blood Decay is getting a lot of damage buffs, actually, to different abilities. Ends up being something like a 5% overall buff. Slightly more if you're Fey, slightly less if you're one of the other Covenants, because of just where the proportions of your damage are coming from. Havoc Demon Hunter, 5%.
The DK stuff is really nice, I think. Like, they were struggling. Both the threat change and the DK changes are, like, super needed for Blood Decay in dungeons.
Absolutely. It's so rough, actually. I did the Blood Decay key, and it was so rough.
Sist and like Dad and them pushed Realm First 15. Sist was doing like 2k DPS in a fucking dungeon, man.
Yeah.
Which, that's so low.
Yeah, Demon Hunter can do that with just Elysian Decree every other cast, and it's already doing 2k overall.
Sounds about right.
Havoc Demon Hunter, 5% buff. Do you guys think there's a chance that Havoc Demon Hunter's going to see some play with a 5% damage buff?
No.
I mean, Venge is so good right now.
Yeah, so I still expect this isn't going to change anything for high-end raid teams. I think that the Vengeance is still going to be the source of the Chaos brand. But, I don't know, a lot of these buffs aren't enough to make specs change position in the rankings, I don't think, or change positions by a lot, but it is going to bring everything a little bit closer together, right? And I think that's really good.
So there are fights that you may still need the Havoc Demon Hunter for because you want the blood decay. Like, I actually think Council of Blood, you probably want a Blood Death Knight. Same with Sun King Salvation. Like, you may end up wanting Blood Decays on both of those encounters over potentially Vengeance Demon Hunter, so you still would like the Havoc in the slot. But Havoc is definitely less mandatory than it has been previously, and I would classify it as not in an exceptional state right now.
You could say that. I don't.
It also helps that Venge is fucking stupid too, though.
I wouldn't go as far to say like every guild will run a Vengeance CH though. Like a lot of guilds will probably run like Brewmaster or DK and then have one Havoc in the raid that way, you know. And there's still an option for DH, but likely we won't see more than one, I guess.
Yeah, I think one DK or one DH total of whichever spec the guild has is going to be the most common in the like top 100 area. Sin Rogue, 5% there. It's still the 3rd place rogue spec, but good for everybody who loves Sin, which I love that spec. It's really fun, so nice to see it get a little bit of love. Resto Shaman, 4% across the board and an additional 10% on Healing Rain. Feels like they're getting out of jail free here.
Those are nerfs, by the way.
Insane.
Yeah.
Yeah. That spec is really, really nuts. And the strongest part of the kit's like the Riptide stuff right now. And
how I view it is if the 4% nerf to Shaman healing was enough to make them not viable, then they weren't viable to begin with.
Mm-hmm. I'm more surprised that like HPAL got nothing, considering where they're at. They don't feel great right now, but
that's true.
I mean, maybe that's just penance for being like super dominant for most of BFA.
Yeah, the end of BFA and the end of Legion, they were OP, right?
Yeah, I mean, since BOD, once Glimmer got discovered, they were the top healer. The whole expansion wasn't actually that close. I mean, Disc Priest was pretty good too, but I mean, HPAL was the healer.
22% damage increase to Chaos Bolt. That's a large number. That's the largest number we have in here, and it's still also so people see the large number, but it's obviously only to one spell, right? Like all damage by 5% or one spell by 22% ends up being a little misleading. Which of those is more impactful? My understanding is this also doesn't change much about which Warlock specs are going to be played in the highest end groups, but like most of these changes, if you are somebody who just plays that spec because you play that spec, this is going to help you be competitive. So that's nice.
I'm thankful for Warlocks being bad this holiday season.
For once, yes.
Arms Warrior, 20% damage increase to Mortal Strike, but not in PvP. And Slam also getting a damage increase too. So this is a single target increase. Notably, this is a bigger single target increase for the Covenants that weren't the best one. So Venthyr gets a ton of their damage from Condemn. And replaces some of these abilities in their rotation because they play a bunch of in synergy with Condemn, which is their execute effect. And whereas the other Covenants don't do that as much, and so the other Covenant single target's actually gone up by more and is potentially competitive or maybe even slightly ahead now. So this might be the first change on this list that might have a best Covenant implication. I don't think it's that big a deal, though. I think Venthyr is still going to be a pretty powerful choice. So I think they've managed to avoid with all these changes adjusting which legendaries or Covenants are the correct one to have picked, which is good because it would not be nice to have the Covenant or legendary you picked be made wrong retroactively.
Dude, people would maul if Covenants and legendaries got changed.
I think that's part of the reason that this is such a light touch across the board is that they really, with all these permanent choices people are making, they really want to be careful to not make them wrong 2 weeks into the patch, right?
Maybe I'm just so wrong, but I felt like Unholy DK was the only real outlier right now. I felt like everything else was kind of okay.
I feel like Shadow Priest, and Balance have got to be pretty happy to get out of here without seeing their names on this list.
Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah. Some of them have legendaries like Boat for Balancer that does a lot of damage.
Balancer, I don't know, man. I feel like Balancer had got away with something here.
The problem is I can't see the nerfing Covenants or legendaries, so I'm just like, I don't really know what the hell they're supposed to do.
Right, exactly. Like it's like, okay, do you go in and nerf Balance of all things and make it so that it's like only slightly better on single target and like a lot worse in AoE than some of the other options? Like I feel like that would lead to a lot of ill will. So I don't know.
I know a lot of people were expecting like huge balance changes. Like people were expecting, Marks Hunter to just like fall off a cliff. And I was the last time they like blew up a class in the first raid tier, I think was Shadow Priest and Emerald Nightmare, and they instantly reverted it because the outcry was so massive.
Dude, you forgetting about Sub-Rogue. Forgetting about Sub-Rogue Uldir.
What
they've blown up Vengeance twice.
Okay, but they got nerfed because of that first tier, and they got deleted for a whole expansion pack.
Hold on. They blew up Vengeance twice going into the intro raid. Intro raid of Legion going into EN. 2 weeks into the expansion, they fucking just annihilated Vengeance. Exact same thing last expansion going into Uldir. They immediately just killed Vengeance right as the raid was starting.
Yeah, to be fair, I do think Vengeance escaping without any nerfs on this list is also a spec that's got to be pretty happy to not see their name up here. Fury Warrior, 5% damage buff as well. Can I interest anybody in some Fury Warrior with a 5% in this trying time?
Poor Warrior.
If you want, you could pull up the Warcraft log statistics and we could look at it. I really do think Unholy was the only like major outlier right now.
Yeah,
because
okay.
It looks like everything is like kind of in the middle. But yeah, obviously
stats.
Balance, MM, and Shadow are.
Here's
really
the default page
stupid.
when you open up stats on Warcraft logs. And yeah, you can see Unholy a little bit of an outlier. You do have to be careful when analyzing all percentile heroic raid from the first week, right? This is going to disproportionately favor specs that like are good without their legendary crafted, are good with low levels of gear, and are good in the fights in the raid that are just farming overall in heroic raid, which I think Unholy farms overall really nicely because it does good AoE, does great burst damage. But yeah, even factoring that in, certainly it does look a bit of an outlier. I don't know. It doesn't surprise me that Tettle's just like, oh yeah, that every spec above balance needs to get nerfed and everything else is fine. Oh yeah,
it's one spec above balance.
Very interesting.
I actually thought that the shit at the bottom was like way worse, but like looking at the graph, it makes me reconsider like how far off it really was.
So again, looking at this particular graph, you can draw a lot of misleading conclusions from this, right? Like if you look at this, you're seeing stuff like Feral Druid and Survival Hunter in positions 5 and 6, but then you got to compare like the actual number of parses that those have, right? That's like 200 Survival Hunter parses.
Dude, you're gonna get
1,500 Feral Druid parses, right? That like makes it. It makes it so that you're really kind of comparing apples to oranges here between some of these specs because they have such different amounts of people playing them, and so like the people playing the less popular specs are often better at them, makes them show up high.
Also, get Robbie Fortnite in your chat, flaming the hell out of you if you're not careful.
Also, this is like there are a lot of AoE fights, so specs that are doing a lot of AoE are looking really good here. If you change this to like damage to bosses, then which specs are near the top changes quite a bit, right? Which specs are at the bottom largely stays the same, but yeah, again, Unholy becomes even more of an outlier when you look at single target. Yeah, so I guess this does look pretty compelling for your case. Let's narrow it to like 95th percentile. Yeah, look at this 95th percentile graph. This is
shut the fuck up, dude.
this is a pretty damning case for Unholy DK for sure.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying that Unholy DK was the only one that felt like so absolutely absurd, and everything else kind of felt okay. But it's just like, damn.
With them escaping with a 5% nerf as well, this is actually
yes.
They're actually still going to be nuts if this graph holds into Mythic.
They also have damage cooldowns every minute. Like they're the perfect spec right now.
Okay, yeah, there are a lot of fights that revolve around 1 minute in Nathria as well, like Sludgers. Sludge Fist is hitting the pillar every minute. Yeah. Papa Sludge.
Papa Sludge.
Papa Sludge, that's a good one.
Big sludge on deck.
All right. So all in all, I think the balance changes, pretty light touch. Not going to change too much where specs fall in this, right? Like Fury Warrior getting a 5% buff, Havoc DH getting a 5% buff, Unholy getting a 5% nerf. They're also going to be in the same quadrants here. It's not like anything's getting taken out back and shot as they have in some previous patches.
Do you expect more balance chaining?
I kind of think this is going to be it.
On their notes, they said that this is tentative and they may end up doing some more. Again, I'm still of the belief that they're not going to touch Covenants or Legendaries for any like specs. So it's like I don't know if there's going to be anything else.
Even if you were a little bit more, if you did more nerfs as well, like if you nerfed Unholy and buffed Frost such that Frost was better, that also does invalidate Covenant and Legendary decisions as well, right? So like if you change which spec is the best one, that also changes people's that will also retroactively make people's decisions the wrong ones that we're choosing based on power level, right? So I think the philosophy with these changes has been we want people that picked bad stuff to be less bad, but we don't want to change what the right picks were because we don't want the people who picked based on what the right pick was to have their permanent choice be wrong, right? Because that's going to make those people really unhappy. And I think that makes a lot of sense given the way the expansion is structured.
Yeah, especially
hope so.
It's going to take a little while to gear up another character if you want to switch characters. So it's I think that not completely destroying the balance of what's going on is correct. So I'm glad they didn't.
I mean, Unholy DK still at the top, even with the 4% nerf. I think
they probably are, and I'm still happy with that. Rather than
something's got to be on top.
Like the same order, even if they just close the gap a little.
That's how I feel about it too.
I think that makes sense as well. All right. We have also... So let's talk a little bit about the difficulty level of Heroic Castle Nathria, because this is a tier... So, okay, to be fair, there have been a lot of guilds that are going to get AOTC this week that haven't yet. They've been doing M+, they've been doing split raids or whatever. They've been doing other stuff with their time, and they know they're going to get AOTC by the end of the week. But so far, there have not been many guilds that have acquired AOTC. Right now, it looks like there are 14 AOTC teams, according to Raider.io, which is not very many for this point in a patch, right? Compared to how many teams. I guess Cahoon, not very many people killed at the start of the last patch, but Xavius was killed by a lot of guilds, even on Heroic, I think, pretty quick.
Yeah.
I think on average, there's probably like 100 guilds that have killed or gotten AOTC at this point in the week on Heroic Week, right? But this tier is like especially difficult on Heroic for the last 3 bosses, I feel.
I'm going to look into how many got Cahoon in first week.
Dude, Cahoon was notoriously hard too. Basically, Wildcard Gaming killed it using an unintended strategy of like double lasering the boss, and then the boss was unkillable for 2 days, and then they just nerfed the boss straight into the ground. But I'm not sure if my guild is even going to be able to kill Sire Denathrius this week. We only have 3 hours left to raid.
Ooh,
yeah, and you guys are on the very end of Sludgefist right now, right?
Yeah, we had like 100k wipe on Sludgefist.
Okay, yeah, I mean, I've heard Stone Legion's pretty free, but...
Yeah, Stone Legion's pretty free, but okay, so assume we one-shot Sludgefist. Stone Legion's fairly free. We only have 2 hours. 2 hours on Denathrius. It's like, I'm not really sure if that's doable. This raid has been quite difficult. I think it's due to the item level, but maybe you guys have different opinions.
I think it is mostly item level gear and people not having crafted all their legendaries yet. I think those are really big factors. Like I know, like Sun King Salvation's a really good example of a fight that if you're under geared, that fight looks a lot harder than it will be when you have gear, because like the healers will be able to like blast through the boss's health faster. All the trash or random mobs will die way faster. And a little bit of gear can make that fight go from like, oh, this is kind of tough to this is like really boring and easy. So I can see that being the case for quite a few bosses.
God, I love getting one shot by Sin Seeker day one. That was very cool too.
Yeah, they nerfed that by 60%, right? Yeah, afterwards.
I sucked on Tuesday when we pulled it on Heroic on my Rogue, and I was like, oh, I just want to see how much damage this does. And then I just die like almost instantly. I'm like, holy crap, this is Heroic.
What is this dot?
Yeah, they've done a lot of nerfs to different parts as well, like a Nerva Darkvein health nerf, Sludgefist normal health nerf, a lot of early balancing just to Heroic. But so far, the difficulty definitely looks pretty high in there. Now, I'm just comparing to Cahoon. By this point, more than 250 guilds had killed it on Heroic in Uldir, and now we've got 14 that have done it in Nathria. So yeah, it's definitely a amped up difficulty level.
I mean, these like Council of Blood and Heroic Sludgefist have felt like mythic bosses in terms of difficulty. I felt like it's like 15,
me too.
Like 15 to 20 pull fights, and you're just like, what the hell is this?
Yeah, I mean, certainly coming in like at the end of the week with 10 extra item levels, 15 extra item levels, if you've done a lot of M+, should make them a lot, particularly Sludgefist, that should make that fight a lot freer. But and if you haven't crafted your legendaries yet, that's really gonna make your raid more challenging too. I think that a lot of guilds are inting by not crafting legendaries, because like if there's a chance that it's gonna mean that you can't kill the boss this week, and like you have people in your guild that haven't crafted legendaries, you're inting so badly. Like the off chance of maybe playing around a nerf compared to just not killing bosses this week the trade-off is so bad.
Well, especially since they did not nerf any legendaries on that tuning pass. Now I think if you're any guild except for the few world first guilds, and you should probably just craft legendaries to help finish off heroic, because getting those heroic boss kills this week is pretty huge for your Great Vault loot on Tuesday as well, because that unlocks a chance to get the loot from Nathria or Stone Legion. Mm-hmm. Whereas you don't unlock that until you kill it.
Will you even want that though? It's still lower level than
plus 14.
So
it's true.
Yeah, I mean, getting Nathria's loot on the table adds his ring. That ring is big value for farming sockets for Venari because it gives you less eye the jailer. So, still, acquiring that ring as soon as possible, letting us spend some more time in our favorite zone, the Maw.
Yeah.
Yes.
Holy shit! I hate him so much.
What? Sire Nathrius, the jailer?
No, I think he's about Dranos.
What? Me? I'm not the person who made the Maw. I just live there.
I think it is worth considering though, because let's say you get a 226 option in your Mythic Plus cache, and it's like the worst stats on a piece of gear that your legendary's in or something, and then you also have a heroic rated loot option that has a weapon. Like you're obviously going to want that 220 weapon over that bad 226 piece that you're not going to be able to use.
Yeah, there's some trinkies that are pretty nice from raid too. Some pretty strong ones.
True.
A lot of these trinkets from raid are terrible though.
Yeah, there are some bad trinkets. Also from M+, there are some bad trinkets, but that's always true. Trinkets are just wildly all over the place. But like for tank trinkets, there's like just 5 tank trinkets that'll do like 1% of your HPS in a dungeon and like 0 damage. You're just like, what is this thing supposed to do?
Yep. Shout out to the trinkets from BFA that were never good. The Golden Claws trinket from Atal'Dazar.
Yeah, Midas Talisman. Loved that one.
There's always a few like that.
Mm-hmm. All right. Let's talk about some of the mythic bosses. The first couple, we're not going to cover the Sludge Fist, Stone Legion, and Sire Nathrius ones on this show. We'll probably talk about those by the time on our next show, once maybe if it's a world first show or something. But we assume that this should carry through for almost everybody until we make it to our next show. So for those who don't remember or didn't listen, last week's show we talked about every mechanic. Or not every mechanic, but we basically gave a rundown of what all the bosses were like on Heroic. This show will talk a little bit about what they're going to add on Mythic, starting off with Shriekwing. And so Shriekwing, the Mythic change, is there's a lantern that needs to be carried around so that you can see the Echo Ball things. And also, if the lantern ever gets hit by anything, it's just an instant raid wipe, which is very fun, very interactive.
Put your lantern on your best mechanical player.
Yeah,
I think that's the goal of that fight.
Probably your best mechanical mage, if I had to guess, from historic mechanics like this.
Or hunter, yeah.
Or hunter, yeah. Although BM isn't really great right now, so I like hard time moving around or raid calling while they do it.
We'll make a boom can do it, but
I'm not allowed to touch that lantern, bro.
It's interesting because holding the lantern and like being in the effect that lets you see, well, you just have to tap it and you get a debuff for 8 seconds and lets you see the balls on the ground. But if you stack in the lantern for too long, you get stacks of that dot, and so you have to pick up the lantern and just the whole group, and then throw it away, and then you pick it up again. You just have to keep dancing between picking up the lantern and getting your group the buff, and then dropping it and get away from the group in a safe place. It doesn't get hit by any of the balls, because if it gets hit by anything, you just...
So you're dropping it on the pillars is what he's trying to say too.
Yeah, but you need to be more careful because you drop it somewhere and everybody's looking out for themselves, and then a stray ball hits the lantern and it's over. Right, it's just instant raid wipe. So it's going to be a brutal first boss on Mythic. I think that there's a good chance that it's just going to take guilds and slap them around. There are going to be guilds that don't kill a Mythic boss that are used to killing 4 week 1.
Yep.
So I don't know, man. Shriekwing has just been looked absurd to me.
Is this going to be the hardest tuned Mythic instance that we've seen in a while?
I'm kind of feeling it. So okay. Just because it was hard on Heroic doesn't mean that it'll be hard on Mythic necessarily, right? Sometimes those two modes have very different tunings. Remember Crucible, where Heroic was free and Mythic was impossible?
Yeah, Unat was such an easy boss on Heroic and completely ridiculous on Mythic.
But I think there's a good chance that given their whole philosophy this expansion, and given the fact that we just can't power up as much going into this raid, if you're playing 24/7 the weeks leading up to the raid, you reach a much lower percentage of Mythic geared than you did in previous expansions. So that means that the tuning can be harsher, and you need the gear to get it, right?
It looks likely that this is going to be, the hardest opening raid in a long time, but like probably one of the hardest raids that's come out in like the past 3 expansions, if
maybe ever. Yeah.
Yeah.
Heroic, like this is the hardest heroic I think I've ever seen. This is insane to me. That is just so difficult. I don't understand why they did this.
I think it's nice that heroic guilds get some, progression. There's like, I think that you can literally progress on, Sun King Salvation, Enerva, Council, Sludgefist, Nathria. I think those are all like legitimate progression experiences for a lot of heroic guilds, which is pretty cool.
For Hall of Fame Mythic guilds.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck is this?
Dude, speaking of Huntsman as well, remember Huntsman was hard on Heroic this week until they nerfed it? I think that thing's going to be really hard on Mythic, though, because over the course of that fight, the Sin Seeker is going to ramp up with all kinds of extra mechanics for each dog you've killed, such that it'll have a soak component, and then it'll have a healing need to heal these spirits when they're hit component, needs to like top the people before they get hit, people that get targeted need to use defensives, and there's just so many mechanics of that Sin Seeker that gets empowered on Mythic. That's kind of a common theme throughout the Mythic mechanics, is that there are bosses where it's just like, instead of having a phase 1 and then a phase 2 and a phase 3 like you do on Heroic, there are a lot of bosses on Mythic that are like, okay, phase 1 plus 2, phase 1 plus 2 plus 3 at the end, and that's going to be really hectic.
Yeah, that fight's gonna be interesting. It turns the fight completely into playing around the Sin Seeker. Like you're gonna have groups assigned to soak each Sin Seeker instead of just kind of spreading out in YOLO like in Heroic. It's gonna be a lot of these bosses are gonna completely flip on their face. Even Huntsman's supposed to be the second boss in the raid, and the strategy is gonna be completely different than Heroic, and it's going to be rough. I'm not sure. That probably is going to be the hardest second boss in a long time as well.
Which maybe, funnily enough, probably going to be easier than Shriekwing.
Maybe, yeah.
Shriekwing's way easier from a numbers standpoint. Like the strategy is what you need, and like your Lantern player to be really competent with it.
Yeah.
So once that happens, it's not bad. But Huntsman looks like a numbers check for your healers and your DPS
and your tanks, man. And
your tanks, everything. That one's gonna be tough.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if we go to that one second or if it ends up being like Sun King or Artificer.
It kind of reminds me of Grong from Battle of Zarlor, where that was the second boss, and it kind of had a big ramp up on healer requirement. Well, I mean, anything was way harder than the first boss of BOD, because that boss is a joke, but as a second boss, I think that was a good comparison, right?
Dude, the comparison between Champions of the Light and Shriekwing is, I think, going to be night and day.
Yes, Champions of the Light.
So yeah, another boss you could go to second is Artificer. Artificer also has the same thing I was just talking about, where instead of having like the ads in the phase 1, and then the seeds in phase 2, and then the Edge of Annihilation in phase 3, you have the ads for the whole fight, the seeds starting in phase 2 for the whole fight, and the Edge of Annihilation with the ads with the seeds in the last phase. I have no idea how you're supposed to, like, what the overlaps are going to look like, or how you're supposed to, like, move the seeds to the edge of the room while doing ads, while also, not getting hit by the Edge of Annihilation as it sucks you in. That's going to be nuts.
It depends on how many... It depends on how many seeds there are. Like, during Mythic testing, I want to say there were like 8 seeds. Whereas for Heroic, we've had...
We've had 4? Yeah, 4 for 30 people versus 8 for 20.
You've only had to actually move 2 of them. We're going to... God, we're going to have 8.
It does say 8 in the tooltip, yeah.
Oh, yes?
The fuck?
It really depends on the timing. I could see the Edge of Annihilation, the way to handle that mechanic could end up not being using the portal at all. You use like a gateway at the last moment, so everyone like focuses the gateway, and you like kill Jade and gateway at the same time to get out of the middle, and then you still have your portal on the other side of the room. So that timings are going to be really important. You know?
Yeah, because you have to have the portal across the room in case you get the ads, because the ads on higher difficulties are just absolutely speed demons. Yeah.
I did have another idea where you just start with all your ranged outside the room, so the first portal's outside the room, and then you all teleport in, and then right before the portal goes away, all your range teleport out again, and
teleport in. Oh, okay. I see what you're saying.
All range tells. Learn how to blink.
No, you teleport in because the portal's
using
there.
The porter. Yeah.
And then you just port out before the next portal spawns so that the next one also gets put out there. Yep.
I was sitting here thinking, I was like, how are you going to get back in? And I just had a realization. I'm like, oh, you're using the boss portal. I'm like, what the hell is this?
Yeah, it's going to be insane. I could see like people carrying seeds into the vacuum mechanic and like gatewaying out, like Jason said, and then taking the teleport or something. That'd be crazy. I'm excited to see the overlaps.
That's going to be very hectic for sure. Sun King Salvation, actually pretty similar boss fights. This might be the second. This might actually be the easiest boss to go to second because unless the numbers and everything, the ad timings might be different and everything, but there's not new mechanics except for Kelthus sometimes gets an absorb shield on him, right? That you have to heal through or else it's over.
Yep.
On testing, that was an insane shield. So, I mean, we'll have to see what it like if the time has changed, like how much time you have to remove it, because it was like 4 or 5 seconds in testing, and it was like a 35,000 healing shield. So if you weren't popping cooldowns and healing them the moment it came out, it was a wipe for sure. So if the tuning is easier, then that won't be too bad. But the Phoenixes also are gonna stay up the whole fight once they spawn, which I don't know if there will be like 3 additional once he comes out the second time, so there will be 6 instead of 3 at the end. But
yeah, because whenever you kill them, they respawn after. Do you know how long it takes them to respawn?
Like 20
seconds.
Yeah.
Speaking of the Phoenixes, never let your DKs who are Necrolord press their Covenant abilities.
Yep. Abomination Limb grips it into your
raid.
Yeah.
Just constantly gripping Phoenixes into melee. We're all just like, oh.
We learned that one too.
We did experience that on both runs, so that was cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think playing around those Phoenixes is going to be like probably the biggest change of the fight. Is you're going to have to manage those a lot better. Although I noticed on normal, so I don't know how this will translate, but if you just let the Phoenixes come up to you, if you're fixated, they won't get close enough to put the circle under you, and they'll just melee. And they didn't melee hard on normal. It was like 1.2k or something, which is healable.
Yeah, so we just tank them where they are, right? And
yeah, you just have whoever's fixated tank them and just heal through it. I could see that playing out pretty well if they don't melee for like 6k or something.
Hungering Destroyer, I think also one that looks fairly simple compared to some of these other ones. The only thing is that you can't keep leeching somebody. So you know how you stand in people's circles to heal them? That damage, but not the healing, ramps up the longer you stay in their circles. So you need to rotate in and out.
Ooh.
Yeah, this is going to be solved by assignments. I don't think this boss is like mechanically difficult at all. I think this is actually, by the way, the worst boss in the raid. And I don't think it's close, but
yeah.
That's the only difference for Mythic. So as long as the numbers aren't like ridiculous, this could be like
it's
a fairly straightforward boss.
Yeah, you have to do it after Huntsman though. Right?
You have to kill Huntsman, to get to Hungering Destroyer.
Yeah.
So that will gate it a little while. I think there's actually a good chance that Huntsman will maybe be harder than this thing.
I mean, this guy's gonna be a weak aura check. You're gonna have a weak aura because you can't just like pre-assign groups because it's impossible to know like who's going to be getting what. It's just gonna be a weak aura check for it's like, oh, all right, you go stand on purple, you go stand on blue, you go stand on orange, you go stand on star.
Yeah, you'll have like the circles go on certain marks on the like left side of the back of the boss, and then people who aren't gonna soak are gonna be on like the right side of the back of the boss, and then you're still coming forward to do the line soak near the front of the boss or something. Or
the weak aura is just gonna do all the logic for you. Yeah, it's really stupid.
Lady Enerva Darkvein, you can't. The anima never goes away, right? It's just if you drain anima, it just gets redistributed among all the other ones. So that's going to be, instead of it being a fight where like one container goes up to 80 and then down to 0, and then the next one goes up to 80 and then down to 0. It's good, and Mythic it's going to be like the first one goes up, and then like you have to redistribute that, so like they're all now at a baseline of like 33, and you have like all the slight empowerments, and then for like the rest of the fight you're dealing with that, and then like by the end of the fight all 4 containers probably have like all of their mechanics empowered, and you're just dealing with like all of it at once. That's gonna be sweet.
It's gonna be insane. They have to, like, just to make that work, they're gonna have to reduce the rate at which those anima things generate, right? So it'll be like a slower beginning, and then it'll like ramp up towards the middle, and it just won't ever let up. It'll be pretty insane towards the end, I'm sure.
Yeah,
I think it's gonna be really insane at first, and then if people get there later in the tier when they have more damage in their groups, I think it's gonna be a lot easier, because like the more damage you have, you just get more of the empowered mechanics throughout the fight. It's a timer on whenever all the cages fill up. Once they all fill up, the fight's over basically. So
you also have to do geometry instead of just a triangle. Like,
isn't it like 4 points on Mythic?
4 points. Still only 3 people to do.
Yeah, so you have to draw a triangle to cover a 4 vertex polygon. It's gonna be cool.
I think at least the 2 of them are usually pretty close together, I'm pretty sure, and so one person can kind of like line up the corner of their triangle on those 2, kind of.
That's gonna be sweet though. Council of Blood. Council of Blood gets Dancing Fever added, which is a mechanic where the whole raid gets this debuff, and you need to clear it within 30 seconds. But every time you clear it by jumping, you get 3 stacks. You jump to clear a stack, but it also like nukes your raid for 5k every time somebody jumps with this thing, and so you're just like having to stagger who's gonna clear by jumping and when.
Yeah, we're dead. I'm playing melee. I'm just gonna jump all the time.
I'm not looking forward to all the melee braids, but just annihilate our raid.
Yeah, dude, have you guys seen the melee brain clips on Twitter?
The Zell one of him. Just what was he doing?
And the Kungan one where he like on Artificer Zymox like last second leaps out of the Edge of Annihilation into the portal back into the Edge of Annihilation and gets killed. It's so good.
That's great.
Yeah. It's definitely going to be melee brains either not jumping and dying, or like 27 seconds into their debuff they like spam jump 3 times and like 3 people do that and your whole raid is dead. All right.
You're gonna have like a I don't know if it's gonna be a weak aura, but it'll probably just be like in order. You have in set order of who's gonna jump when, and you have
maybe a weak aura will do it.
Yeah, it's similar to like I guess I'm dating myself, but like Sisters of Elune, when you had to like
that's what I was
clear.
gonna say.
So it'll be like just very controlled, clear over the 30 seconds, and it's like it's kind of a rush because you have only 30 seconds to do it, but as long as you calm and just everyone does it when they're supposed to, it won't be too bad. But the rest of that fight kind of looks rough with like leaving the extra mechanics in.
Yeah,
because you still have the aura of oppression or whatever it's called, and that thing owns you.
Chunks. Yeah. Where like the one that stacks up every time you don't, and it only resets when you get a boss to 50 or 0. Yeah.
This is such a healing intense tier, I feel like.
I wonder what the number of healers is going to be on these fights, because you also need a lot of damage to beat these things fast enough. It's going to be nasty. And those are the easy 7 bosses. Then we get to Sludge Fist, Stone Legion Generals, and Sire Nathrius, which we're not going to talk about this week, but boy, does especially like, man, Sire Nathrius Mythic, I cannot wait to see what that looks like, because it is such a beautiful fight from what I've seen on Heroic. So great looking. Can't wait to spend a couple months progressing on that thing.
Oh no, man.
Oh yeah.
Couple months, Jason's like, no, please.
Yeah, dude, we're gonna get there like mid-March and kill it in like mid-May.
Yeah, for US 7th.
For US 7th, yeah. All right, that's Mythic Nathria. We're gonna do Q&A, but first we have some patrons to thank. Tell us, how do you feel about reading the patron names this time around?
I'll like to give it to Trell because I read it last time.
Okay.
Oh, okay, fine, I'll do it. We do really appreciate our patrons, as always. Paul of US Proudmore, actually, Paul Blart Ma Cop. Soul Blinds are just an underdeveloped dating simulator. Oh shit, we forgot about Pride, aka our first 10 of the week. Same.
Yep, been there.
Delete the H, now with 5% damage buff, I guess. ... Gopher. New strat, DPS through mechanics. King of skills, Zuko. Jaw. I wish I was Dranos Dino Pillow. I have a Dranos Dino shirt. Actually, it's not Dranos Dino shirt, but it's kind of similar to his pillow. Chromed, Trekkie, the Marshare, Regulus, Nevernude, Chewy, the real winners of Shadowlands, Disenchant, M0 gear to sell mats for 5k each. I hate it when people don't finish their ... Sonara, Dazboot, better mage lead than Tal. Brought to you by Dradnos the Excel Wizard, Brad Ceratops, Gino the Boomer, me too, Necros, Shadow Priest can pump if you chain pull, just give them a chance. We gotta have to talk about that name. Actually, Shadow Priest do a ton of burst damage right now, and it kind of just like
the chain
confuses the hell out of me all the time.
A BFA thing as well, right? Like
their single target damage right now is fucking absurd.
Mm-hmm. It's so weird. It's so weird for Shadow to be a single target spec. I am still it doesn't compute for me.
I love what they did with Devouring Plague so much.
Yeah, Shadow looks really cool right now. Continuing on, we have Nevok, Samora, Eevee, Frosty K, New Meta. I think it's actually Unholy DK still looking like. Stevenson, an unnamed benefactor. Take Light of the Protector and Frenzy Region off the GCD. Woe Bonesy No Verse, No Trick. I scheduled the Tettle's Flame. Sir Maticus, aka Grumpy Druid of E-Girl Bathwater. Sean spent all of his time hyping up Guardian and Beta just to become a Boomkin main. To meet Syncope, Kimberdead in training, 30, Supra, Hanny is going to pump at Shadowlands, Nyx, oh no, I can't read this. There's no way I'm reading this.
This is Dutch?
I think it's German?
I think it's bad English.
No, dude, this is 100% like Dutch.
Nyx, it's like hoop, which I think means, I don't know, hopes that. Okay, never mind, it's not English, man. Go ahead, good luck.
I translate it.
Nyx hooped dot Idirine Veal Pleiser Heeft in Shadowlands. I probably just butchered the crap out of that.
Yeah. Nyx hopes everyone has a lot of fun in Shadowlands.
We appreciate that.
Yeah.
My brother needs to play more and stop being a noob. Flick from Ascendance, Gaelic, Brusuf, Chewy, Dranos Routes or Biss. I take offense. I'm just kidding. Vesuvius can't pick a man and it's getting too late to be so indecisive. Waiting with dread for the S-Priest nerf, Monk W. Dabrowski, Insanity, Nixor, Space EU, now recruiting. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you all. Great job, Trell. Well read. All right, Q&A time. So yeah, dude, that is getting a nice 5-minute segment now. Reading all the patrons, really appreciate it. Though. Thanks all for the support. All right, Thilirian in Discord asks, which add-on management system would you guys recommend? Have you found any disparity between the two, where one would be good and the other would have a certain upside or downside compared to M+ and rating? So the question actually, as phrased, suggests that maybe there's different add-ons on both of them. They have the same library of add-ons. They both draw from the CurseForge library of add-ons. It's just, so there's CurseForge, which is now owned by Overwolf, and it used to be owned by Twitch. That was why it was in the Twitch client, and now it's owned by Overwolf, so it's its own separate thing. But their backend is what WowUp, which is the other add-on management that people are using, scrapes from. So it's all from the same backend. There's the exact same list of add-ons on both. It's just a question of preference between the two. I use the CurseForge because even though it has ads, the ads, 70% of that revenue goes to the add-on devs, and I think that's it's good for the add-on devs to get paid a little bit. But people who like Wow's a little simpler. It doesn't have the ads, and it doesn't have Overwolf associated with it, which, depending on what games you've played in the past, there's been some Overwolf products or maybe privacy concerns or just bad apps from them in the past. So I think that's a reason that a lot of people are using WowUp. I would just encourage you, if you make a lot of use of add-ons, if you can't use the CurseForge and aren't willing to give a little bit of ad revenue to the creators, maybe consider, like, if you're using WoW, subscribe to like one of the Patreons for one of the add-ons you use, and make sure try and help make sure the add-on devs are supported if you can.
I personally have been liking WoW Up, but yeah, I think supporting the developers is important.
Next question comes from Cat Gay in Discord, who asks, should there be a normal week, heroic week, and mythic week? So to clarify right here, we have right now it's just normal and heroic that come out the same week, and then mythic and LFR come out the same week, the week after. And the question here is, should it be normal and then heroic and then mythic?
Normally I would say no.
I don't know. Maybe if they want the difficulty curve to be like this, maybe that would be okay going forward.
I don't know. Normal's really easy.
Yeah.
That's the problem, yeah.
Like,
well, relative for us, yeah. I'm trying to like think of like a new player perspective, and I feel like as a new player, it would be cool to have that kind of unlocking, but
I don't think it matters because you're not going to get to heroic on the second week anyway. If you are a new player, like you're going to be progressing through normal, I assume.
This would basically just be a nerf to heroic and mythic, right? Because you'd be coming in with like slightly better baseline gear to them, right? If just normal had come out a week earlier. I don't hate this idea. Like, I think Blizzard should maybe explore it and see if it fits with their new philosophy. If it is a new tuning philosophy they have. But I'm not. I could see it just doing nothing effectively as well.
I expect this to be an anomaly. I think that overall there hasn't been like too big of issues with pacing in terms of like normal release, mythic release kind of thing. Normal heroic mythic relece.
I think it's nice to get mythic as soon as possible as well.
If this pacing were to continue, maybe reconsider. But like, damn, this is. I feel like this is just an outlier, personally.
I think it's mostly just a gear thing. Like next tier, we'll have the equivalent of the normal loot, like we don't now. Like even the highest item level of us in the guild when we started this week, we're like maybe getting to 190, maybe.
Yeah,
and that's well below normal item level, especially with the item level squish. So we were way under geared for compared to what we will be for next tier. So
that's true. That's a good point. It's been a unique situation right now.
First of the expansion is you're always like extra bad geared compared to how you'll be in future patches. It's also just tuning is kind of just a bit of a crapshoot, right? Just some tiers are randomly a little easier, a little harder because Blizzard, misses the mark in a slightly different direction every time, right? There's just a little bit of error.
I wonder how we would feel if we were all 200 item level coming into this.
Yeah.
If we would think heroic was actually that hard, or if it was just like, oh, maybe this is mildly harder than the other tier.
If there was a normal week first, that would be a source of a lot of those items. So I don't know. Maybe it is worth considering.
Yeah, I don't think it's a bad idea. I just don't know if it would accomplish.
Yeah, the problem is that it would maybe make the raid kind of boringer, right? Where you just like, it feels like you're doing it for longer before you can start doing it on Mythic, and like if heroic being difficult week one, I think is actually kind of cool. I think that's kind of sweet.
I like that too. Also, what would happen with Mythic Plus?
Yeah, do you have like different? Do you have it like on week one, like only +4s give loot and nothing higher, and then week two it's like +10s, and then week three it's all the way up? I don't know. It's starting to feel pretty contrived. It already feels pretty roughly time gated.
Consider this though: the fact that like the Great Vault and like they're expecting you to do 15s and stuff like that. We're going to accelerate our gearing pretty quickly over the next like 2 weeks. We're going to get like a massive influx of higher quality loot at a pretty substantial rate. So
yeah, especially heroic and normal PvP and raid are like great sources of loot. Mythic Plus, not optional. Good. As long as you're doing raid and PvP, Mythic Plus is going to be optional starting next week. But this week is really good. Yeah. All right, next question comes from Elcan in Twitch chat. Which boss is going to be a wall, and is it yikes enough to kill guilds?
Tree Queen.
Yeah, maybe. All right.
That's a good call.
I think there are probably like 7 potential wall bosses in this dungeon. I think a common answer would be Sludge Fist as well. Sludge Fist looks like that one's going to be... It's really late in the tier, so I think it's fine for it to be hard. Because I think it's fine for a lot of guilds. Just like a lot of guilds are just never going to make it that far, and a lot of guilds will never kill it as well. And I think that's okay at that point in the raid, but I think that one's gonna like there are gonna be a lot of cutting edge guilds that just get their bodies broken against that thing.
Unnerva is like, with how the mythic mechanic works with the flasks or whatever you want to call them, the cauldrons or whatever. fight is no joke.
The whole
that may be like a pretty large damage check too.
I
Same with
any of the
Council
bosses.
of Blood.
Yeah. Or like Kel'Thas.
There seems to be a lot of big damage checks. There's not like a lot of cycling mechanics that you can just survive over and over and kill a boss. There's like a ton of hard ramping abilities that get harder and harder until the boss dies, I feel.
Yeah, those 3 bosses all in a row. Dark Vein, Council, Sludgefist, all 3 of those are going to be like big DPS checks. And so I assume those are going to be the last 3 that you kill in that order, probably.
Yeah.
And that is assumed that those are tuned in a more difficult manner.
Yeah, it's possible that, I mean, tuning is such a big unknown, right? Like, all the predictions about which boss are going to be a wall, a boss having like 20% more health or less health randomly could totally throw that on his head. Stone Legion Generals looked like it was going to be really hard. It's been easy on Heroic, but it could easily end up being like the breaker on Mythic as well. And then I think everybody's expecting Sire to be an all-time fight already. I think the expectations are getting really high on that thing.
That fight's good.
Hope it's good.
One thing I could see mitigating it a little bit for Council is if you like, because you're doing damage to the other bosses, but they heal after you kill. But if like you get one to 50%, like the other ones are closer to 50% than the 51 is to 0. So maybe you could push a second boss to 50% to like reset your stats.
Oh, to do another dance? Yeah.
To do another dance, you get a haste buff, and that nerfs or that resets oppressive atmosphere, the dot. So
maybe
I could see that like kind of circumventing what could be a ridiculous DPS check. Obviously won't know for sure, but
yeah, maybe. Honestly,
that's
I don't even.
Smart. Yeah.
I have a question. Did you guys think that Sire to Nathria felt like it was like obviously there's a mythic mechanic in phase 3, but I felt like that fight was missing a mechanic in phase 3. It's not that like it like obviously there's going to be an extra mythic mechanic in the last phase, but it did feel like the burn was kind of missing something.
I haven't pulled it yet.
Well, I haven't killed on Heroic, so I don't know. I think a normal felt like a normal boss fight, which is good.
Okay, fair point.
Phase 2 seemed like the meat of the fight.
I agree.
Yeah, sure.
I'm sure on Mythic that will change. Like, actually, I'm not sure about that. Maybe all phases will just be completely ridiculous, which I guess wouldn't surprise me that much. But
I think your point though is that like imagine having a third phase of a Mythic last boss that's easier than the second phase. It's just like a free phase. I don't think they would do that for Mythic, right?
Yeah, I think that they will make sure that it's hard on Mythic.
Wasn't Gul'dan kind of like that? Like once you got to the
the Illidan phase was pretty free. Yeah,
it wasn't like you still had to do something, but it wasn't harder than the rest of the fight. It was actually really easy.
I mean, the hard part was getting enough pulls that went that deep to practice it a couple times. But then once you done that, it was if you could get Gul'dan to spawn or Illidan to spawn, you could kill it for 100% C's. Yeah. I remember like getting there and it still took like 50 pulls to get there again and actually like get Gul'dan to 0. That was such a hard fight.
I don't remember that fight very well. It's been so long.
That fight was so cool. Oh my god, Gul'dan was such a great fight.
That's the fight where when your tank goes off the edge, everyone has to AFK for 20 minutes to get back into the same instance.
I don't remember that.
Remember that bug where it like desynced the party if someone fell off?
No,
that was after one like random reset, wasn't it?
I just remember Khadgar, like, we can stop him. I know it. Just like arcing really hard the whole fight. Yeah.
It had the winds that like blew you all the way across the platform, and you had to like actually run against it.
And there was Stamp Roar mandatory, by the way.
They nerfed those winds, fight. And it was like you could do it without having Stampede Roar or whatever. But pre-nerf winds, it would just like blow you from one side to the other in like 2 seconds. That was so cool. God, I love that fight.
There's so many good clips of people falling off on that. There's so many.
I think Sire is going to be... I have a feeling that Sire is going to be one that we remember really fondly, though, as well. I'm excited. This raid tier looks awesome. It looks like there's going to be so much actual fights here. Compare this to something like BOD, where every fight was just a pushover, and it was just a quick, like, learn this, kill it, and then you get to Jaina, and that's hard. Here, I think there's going to be, like, 9 or 10 fights that are legitimate.
Yeah, what do we have for Nihilitha? Like, Raden, so like the last 3, and then Il'gyanath. Everything else was like
Rada and Elganoth and Azoth. Yeah, even Carapace. Carapace was something, but it wasn't really.
It was like a mid-tier boss, not like a really hard. Like when I think of like really hard non-last bosses, I'm thinking like Fallen Avatar or
Gorfiend.
Yeah, Gorfiend, good one. Was cool even. Was kind of rough. Not like as much as some of those others, but wasn't like
Star Augur Atreus.
Star Augur was nutty for a long time.
Yeah,
true. Also from that same Gul'dan tier.
Cenarius, compared to Xavius, is pretty hard, but very easy comparatively.
The whole raid cleared in less than a day.
That raid was so. Can you imagine if this raid is one day?
I literally can't.
That would be so wild.
Can you imagine if Mythic and this raid is literally one day long?
Sludgefist doesn't actually gain more health going from Heroic to Mythic. Same health, same everything. It's just like one more mechanic.
That'd be so funny.
I imagine that somebody at Blizzard would like if the first 5 bosses get one shot, the 6th boss, they're gonna pull it and it's gonna have 7 times as much health. Blizzard's just gonna hit the brakes on that and be like, all right, we need to retune.
It's time to pay.
Yeah. Anyways, we'll be back to talk about how all of this went down whenever the Race to World First ends. We're taking next week and probably the week after off. So this will probably be our last show of 2020. We're expecting to be back on Saturday, January 2nd for a live show and Sunday, January 3rd for the recordings and stuff. But that is also potentially subject to change. So follow our Twitter, join our Discord if you want to hear announcements about when the next show is going to be. Otherwise, I hope you've had a good year. Obviously, all the weird stuff going on this year. Hope everybody's gotten through it okay. Hope everybody has a nice ending to the year. And have fun in Castle Nathria, everybody. Thanks for joining our show this week, Jason, as well.
Always happy to be here.
Much appreciated. At JasonXDRaffle on Twitter. If anybody wants to follow him, he's always got a different name these past couple weeks.
I'm stealing my guildie's clout. When they make a video, I just claim it, copy it, strike them.
Yeah.
Sorry, what?
He's just every time one of our guildies is released like a guide or a video, he just changes Twitter avatar to be their name or to be their handle.
Yeah, almost. It was like Terrasant with like 2 R's or something, and
Seth Curry
first instead of Seth Curry the second.
But that's the end of our show. Later, everybody. Bye.
Goodbye.
Later.